Imagine Point Nemo, the most remote and lonely place in the Pacific Ocean, thousands of kilometers from the nearest land. Absolute dead calm. And suddenly, the radars of the modern nuclear-powered aircraft carrier Gerald R. go insane. The screens of the Aegis combat system instantly flood with alarming red. Officers in the Combat Information Center first assume it's an electronics malfunction, but the external cameras confirm the impossible. Around the lone modern giant and its two Arleigh Burke-class destroyers, the entire naval history of humanity materializes. Within a 50-kilometer radius, the ocean boils and foams as millions of tons of steel and wood displace the water. The inner ring of death consists of thousands of wooden schooners, brigs, and frigates. The golden age of piracy, the heavy Spanish Armada, the legendary fleet of the British Empire in the age of Admiral Nelson. A forest of masts blocks the horizon. The middle ring is made of coal-smoking steel monsters of World War I. Dreadnoughts from the Battle of Jutland with angular turrets and monstrous calibers. The outer and most dangerous ring is the fleet of the Japanese Empire, led by the super battleship Yamato, the beasts of the Kriegsmarine with Bismarck, and American aircraft carriers from the Battle of Midway. The balance of power is monstrous. One modern aircraft carrier, two destroyers, one nuclear submarine, against 5,000 ships of the past. Many armchair experts would say, just drop a nuclear bomb. Fire a hypersonic missile and it's over. But let's turn on hard physics and cold logic. The enemy fleet is spread across hundreds of square kilometers. A single tactical nuclear blast would destroy at most 50 ships at the epicenter. There are 5,000. Ammunition is critically limited. On board the carrier are about 2 million liters of aviation fuel and several thousand tons of precision-guided munitions. There will be no resupply. Each missile costs $1 million, and it would be wasted on a rotten wooden tub. This is not a shooting range. This is crisis management at the limits of human capability. The first to engage are those closest to the hulls of our ships: pirates, privateers, heavy galleons. To Blackbeard or Admiral Nelson, a modern nuclear aircraft carrier looks like a floating steel island built by the gods of war. But they have only one instinct: board the ship. Thousands of boats and sailing vessels rush toward the gray, impregnable sides of the ford. They try to overwhelm with numbers, climb anchor chains, throw grappling hooks. The strike group commander understands. Wasting harpoon anti-ship missiles on wood would be criminal stupidity. A missile would punch straight through a schooner without detonating and disappear into the sea. Layered close-range defense activates. On the Arleigh Burke destroyers, 25mm Bushmaster cannons and 127mm guns come alive. But the real killer is the Phalanx system, a 6-barrel gun designed to destroy supersonic missiles. Now aimed at the water, the barrels spin like a circular saw. 4,500 rounds per minute. The viewer witnesses the nightmare physics of colliding eras. Heavy tungsten rounds moving at extreme velocity turn oak hulls into dust in seconds. This is not cast-iron cannon fire. This is a continuous stream of molten metal. Ships are cut in half like foam under a chainsaw. The water turns red with blood and yellow with millions of splinters. Smoke, spray, and gunpowder hide the horizon. The barrels glow white-hot. Automation threatens shutdown from overheating. While wooden ships die under machine gun fire, giant World War I turrets rotate on the horizon. They cannot see the carrier through the smoke, but rangefinders detect a massive silhouette rising above the sea. A blind artillery duel begins. 300 and 380mm shells crash into the water, raising columns as tall as skyscrapers. The sea convulses from shock waves. A modern carrier has almost no armored belt. Its defense is speed, maneuverability, and distance. If even one Jutland-era shell hits the flight deck, flight operations stop instantly. If it hits the hangar with fueled aircraft, it becomes a second Pearl Harbor, 10 times worse. The captain orders full speed. 2 A-1B nuclear reactors reach peak output, driving a 100,000-ton giant to 30 knots, nearly 60 kilometers per hour. The water behind the ship boils. Coal-powered dreadnoughts can barely reach 21 knots. No matter how hard they shovel, physics cannot be cheated. The carrier pulls away, and at that moment, F-18 Hornets launch from the deck. The war becomes contactless, something the past is not prepared for. Fighters attack Bismarck. Pilots in digital cockpits avoid expensive missiles. They switch to JDAM-guided bombs. For 1940s anti-air gunners, a jet moving near supersonic speed looks like a UFO. They cannot even turn their guns fast enough. A smart bomb hits the main turret. Explosion. Ammo detonation. The legendary Bismarck breaks in half and sinks, but numbers become the problem. The Ford carries about 75 aircraft. Enemy battleships and cruisers number in the hundreds. Launch, strike, land, refuel, reload. The deck crew works to exhaustion. People collapse from fatigue and JP5 fumes. One wrong step means death in a turbine. And a new threat appears in the sky. Thousands of Japanese Zeros and German Messerschmitts. They are slow. They have no missiles. Their guns are weak. But there are so many of them. Modern radar struggles to lock onto slow targets. The Doppler problem. Pilots slow down and fight with cannons, entering dangerous dogfights where a single lucky bullet can shatter the canopy. While hell unfolds above, a silent drama plays below. One Virginia-class nuclear submarine faces hundreds of German U-boats alone. Modern sonar detects enemies 50 kilometers away. German hydrophones hear almost nothing. The submarine launches Mark 48 torpedoes. Each one can break a battleship in half. But there are only about 30 torpedoes on board, hundreds of targets. The commander makes a hard decision. Only strike flagships. Yamato, Musashi, Hood. In response, the Germans launch hundreds of unguided torpedoes. Stupid, blind, but everywhere. The ocean turns into explosive soup. The submarine dodges at the limit. Torpedoes pass meters from the hull. Eventually, ammunition runs out. The submarine becomes an observer until a depth charge damages its control surfaces. The battle has lasted 12 hours. The sun sets. Cold coffee, sweat, the smell of overheated electronics. The tactical map is completely red. People ask why lasers or railguns weren't used. Reality is simple. Every weapon has limits. Reactor power is enough. Barrels melt. By nightfall, fuel is almost gone. Only 20 sorties remain. At dawn, the situation is critical. Destroyers are out of missiles. Guns have minutes of ammo left. Enemy ships close to visual range. One destroyer makes a suicidal decision. It rams an enemy cruiser to shield the carrier. Metal screams, sparks fly. The destroyer sinks, taking others with it. The Gerald R. Ford is alone, out of ammo, out of escorts, surrounded. There is nowhere to run. So the captain uses the ship itself as a weapon. 100,000 tons of steel at full speed. The carrier plows through wooden ships, turning them into splinters. Mass is merciless. But enemy battleships finally land a hit. The flight deck is pierced, fire erupts, damage control fights, but impacts continue. Boarding parties climb aboard. Modern Marines fight pirates in narrow corridors. A surreal nightmare. The captain understands. The ship will fall within an hour. Nuclear technology cannot be surrendered to the past. He activates the self-destruction protocol. The explosion is a miniature sun, light brighter than 1,000 welding arcs. A 50-meter tsunami erases everything. Wooden ships vaporize. Steel battleships flip like toys. There are no winners. The ocean takes everyone. When the radioactive steam clears, only oil, debris, and fragments of history remain. One ship destroyed a civilization, but proved one thing. Every technology has limits: logistics, ammunition, numbers. Even a Death Star falls when it runs out of shots. So who should fight next? Vote in the comments. Option A, Orbital tungsten rods versus Middle-earth, magic versus physics. Option B, SCP-096 versus the entire Soviet Army, an immortal monster against thousands of T-34 tanks. Subscribe, hit like. Here, we sink legends and test history to destruction. See you next time.